And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at the 10th anniversary edition of Homesteaders. Homesteaders was one of the initial games that came from Tasty Minstrel Games, who is well known for their high quality games both in gameplay and in component quality. The original Homesteaders was not necessarily in that the people liked the gameplay, but the component quality was pretty bad actually in many different respects. I actually reviewed Homesteaders 10 years ago, and now I would like to take a look with you at the new version of this game and see if my opinion of it has changed over the past decade. This is an auction game where you will be bidding for the right to build buildings in your, well, homestead. I kind of like that since the town I live in is named Homestead. But you're building these buildings which will give you resources, and there's actually quite a few different resources in this game. Let's see how it plays. As the game goes by, you're going to have a tableau of buildings in front of you. So everyone's going to start with a homestead, and buildings have a couple things on them. First of all, there's going to be a certain number of victory points they're worth at the end of the game. So your starting homestead is worth 0 points, but for example, this grain mill here would be worth 2 points at the end of the game. Buildings are going to have a cost to build them. This one costs 1 wood and 1 steel to build it. And at the beginning of each turn, you're going to get the income from your building. So you can see this one here gives you an apple. Your starting building gives you 2 coins. Players will also be acquiring workers over the course of the game. You'll start with 1. And during the income phase of each turn, if you have spots to place a worker, you can place the worker and get whatever it shows there. So here I can get a point, or I can get a wood by placing a worker. If I had 2 workers, I could get both of them. And buildings also have different time periods on them. So, for example, this farm says settlement. And the game takes place over 10 rounds. The first 4 rounds are the settlement phase. After those rounds, the settlement buildings are going to go away. There are also settlement town buildings. So the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th rounds of the game are towns. So this would be in the game for the first 8 rounds. And then there are city buildings. And you'll have buildings set off to the side that you will bring out. These are all the buildings that are available in the settlement. They either say settlement or town. But once you go into the town phase, the ones that say just settlement are going to go away. And the ones that say town are going to come into play. And then after the town phase is over, we'll remove all the town and just leave out the city tiles for people. Now, to get tiles, players are going to take place after you do your income phase each round. Players are going to do an auction phase, and that's where the middle of the board here matters. Now, in the auction phase, players are going to take turns auctioning on these 3 different auctions here. Now, if there's only 3 players, you would just be doing 2 of them. This is only used in a 4-player game. So on your turn, you basically place your boot on a price you're willing to pay in silver for this tile. So yellow could place here, green might place here, blue might place here. Red is going to outbid green and bid 5 on this one. Green might then outbid yellow, yellow outbids green. Green decides at this point they'd rather just pass. When you pass, you'll move your train up 1, and then you can take the reward on the spot that's listed there, or any previous reward. So this gives you a trade token. This gives you a railroad track. Railroad tracks basically just provide you with free income each round. This gives you a worker, any 1 resource, or 3 points. So you'll get something. The other people who do win these tiles are then allowed to, in turn order, I mean here, going to the end, you can then buy the type of building it shows. So if I win this tile, I can buy a residential or a commercial building. So down here, I can look at the available tiles, and I'll pick a residential or a commercial. I cannot buy an industrial tile. And then you just pay the resources here and put that tile in front of you. So players are going to be building a queue of buildings in front of them. Players can also, on their turn, use trade tokens, and essentially you can use trade tokens to buy resources that you need. So when you can use the gold coin and a trade resource to buy a brick or so on. You can also sell resources to get money and or points. But again, you need these trade tokens to do that. And you'll see that some of the buildings, like for example, the trading post, if you do this, it costs a gold to get it built, but it will give you 2 trade tokens every income phase. And so there's all sorts of buildings. You just got to figure out which buildings work best for you. This one, if I put a worker at it, gives me a steel. Some of them are end game bonuses, like this one here, where at the end of the game I get a point for every worker and railroad that I have. But it also gives me a trading token and a silver every income phase. After 10 rounds, whoever has the most points is the winner, with players getting bonus points for different resources that they have. There's other rules of the game. A gold coin as one of the resources can be used as 5 silver. Players can take debt tokens at any time if they need money, but you can see to get rid of debt tokens is pretty expensive, and you will lose points at the end of the game. If you have one debt thing, it's minus 1 point, 2 for the second, 3 for the third. And so that can get pretty pricey if you have too many debt tokens. And that's pretty much it. I really like the components for the game. Having all these different resources. So you see I have all mine in different containers here, which definitely makes the game easier, but they're very easy to distinguish. You got the steel and the wood and the bricks and the apples and the cows and the gold. I mean, that's a lot of different resources. I have this, in my version, these came both the cardboard counters and the metal ones. I have no idea why I would want to use the cardboard ones, but some people don't mind that. The trade tokens are fine. They're maybe the most boring component. The buildings themselves, as you look at them, I found that the iconography on them works really well. That's the cost. That's the victory points. This is what it might do at the end of the game. Here's your income phase. When you look at them, I don't have to look them up and go, I don't know what that means. No, it's really simplistic. And I mean, the fact that as the game goes by, there's a whole pile of these out there will mean that people are picking them up and looking at them all the time, but it's not that big of a deal. And, even this here, what you can buy and sell, each player has one of these. It's pretty handy. The rules themselves are not complex at all. There's just a few rules in here. Basically, game rounds, final scoring round, and then if you do need to know about buildings, it tells you that with a FAQ in the back. Really, really simple. Homesteaders is an interesting game to me because I remembered how much I liked the game. I thought it was a good game, and I was excited to bring it back to the table, even though it's been probably 10 years since I played it, and I found that I don't really like it anymore. Now, this is not because the game has gotten worse, and in fact, the game has improved. It's smooth, it's streamlined, it looks pretty. It's just not my style. So I would like to make that clear because some of you may really enjoy this, and I don't want to dissuade you from getting it, but it's definitely not a kind of game that I like, and I'll tell you why. The game takes place over 10 rounds, and in those rounds you are auctioning something off. But in that auction, someone is not getting something. Yes, you can move your train on the track and get a coin or a railroad man or a railroad track or a worker or some resource or whatever. That is not the same as being able to buy something. In a 4-player game, that means at least twice, probably, 2 of the 10 rounds you're not going to get something. In a 3-player game, it's 3 rounds, maybe 4, that you're not going to get something. That's just not as much fun for me because I want to get something, and if there's only 10 rounds of the game, it feels kind of restrictive that I'm not always getting something. And combine that with when you do win something, it will say, okay, build a residential building. Now my pool of what I can build is here. And I have found that over the past 10 years, as I play these kind of worker placement, building engine games, that I like games that present me with more and more options as the game goes by, and this one feels like it narrows you down and says pick between these. Homesteaders is a game in which you are going to eke out whatever you can. You will get more as you go by, but at the beginning you're like, okay, I can build a building, but I have 1 wood. So some of these buildings I can't even build. I can build this building or this one. I'll pick this one. And that's fine. Once you get some income in, maybe get some trade tokens, you can start trading and getting the stuff you need. And as the game goes by, you have a few more things, but it feels like the game is no pun intended, on rails to some degree. And while I think a lot of people will like this focus, will like this zooming in, it's just not something that I'm interested in playing anymore. So it's kind of a weird situation that I'm in, because I know a lot of people, they're like, would I like Homesteaders? Yeah, I really think you would. I like the way that the auctions work, as essentially where you place the worker above the last person. That's a good way to do auctions. I like that the town morphs from a settlement to a town to a city. I like the different resources and kind of the different ways to get victory points. You can try to do buildings that churn victory points, or just get ones that are worth victory points at the end of the game. The debt is tough, and I don't know that I necessarily like the eking out, just meager resource management. And I definitely don't like the fact that each round someone does not get something, because for me, that just means that round is not as fun. But the game does play fairly quickly. It says 60 to 90 minutes on here. 90 minutes is only if someone's sitting there and really dragging the game out, because it's literally 10 auctions, build buildings, get income. So Homesteaders, not a game that has aged well for me, but I think I'm the one who's done the changing. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Dice Tower Judgment. So a lot of people are going to like it. It's just not for me.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas, for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando, in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower.